Gemini, welcome to your January astrology reading. So what I'm going to do here is talk about all of the major transits during the month of January and then how they're going to impact you specifically. And so just kind of maybe a little bit housekeeping. So when it comes to Gemini, you're probably listening to your sun sign, but you're also going to want to hear your rising sign and then even possibly your moon sign. So you might need to run your birth chart if you're not sure what that is. And what the reason for that is for your rising sign, this is going to impact your rising sign more than anything else. Your rising sign is your first house. It's how other people perceive you, especially in that first meeting. Your sun sign is how you express yourself. And so when you think about those two, it's how other people see you, how you see yourself, how you express yourself. And so that's why these two are the most significant. When it comes to your moon sign, that is how you process and feel everything. It's how you emotionally process everything. So just keep that in mind as I go through this reading. You might want to listen to the other ones to get, okay, I'm talking about these, but maybe there's something else that you need to incorporate into it. And so like, let's say that you're a Gemini sun and maybe a Sagittarius rising. And so you would want to listen to the two of them to understand, okay, this is how everything plays off of each other. And so now let me get into this a little bit. So January 1st, right away, we have our first major astrological event. We have Mercury stationing direct in the sign of Sagittarius. And so I love it when Mercury stations direct, especially this one. It has definitely been messing with my electronics. But what it's going to do here is impact your seventh house. And so let's talk a little bit about Mercury. Mercury is how we process information. And so this would be intellectually processing information, but it would also be communication. Mercury is actually a ruler here. And so Mercury was in Capricorn when it stationed retrograde, and then it moved into, so it slid backwards into Sagittarius, and then later in the month, it'll actually move back into Capricorn. But what's happening here is when it was retrograde, you did a lot of internal processing, probably thinking big picture. You're Gemini, so you're the opposite sign on the Zodiac. You're used to dealing in details. And Sagittarius, from this perspective, is kind of encouraging you to see the big picture when it comes to things, understanding things from a big picture. That's exactly what Mercury is trying to do here. And so now it's stationing direct. You might find it easier to communicate that big picture. This would be all of your words become actions. This is a way of expressing exactly what you've been thinking, what you've been wanting to do. And so you are being given an opportunity here to understand, okay, maybe I need to change something here, specifically when it comes to relationships. And it would be those one-to-one relationships, because this is impacting your seventh house. So this would be romantic relationships, marriage if you're married. It could be like others, maybe a mentor, a boss, somebody, any one-to-one relationships. This would be impacted here. It could also be contracts. So I don't really talk about that often. But legal contracts could also be highlighted here, where you're understanding the big picture, understanding why things need to be a certain way. Whether you agree or disagree, it's not really about that. You might be seeing the truth of the situation at this point. And then a couple days later, we actually have Mars entering the sign of Capricorn. So this is going to impact your house of daily routines. Because there is so much Capricorn energy in the month of January, your sixth house is going to be lit up most of the month. And so this would be all of your daily routines. Think about your work, think about your home life, think about your diet, your exercise. Anything that involves your house or your home is highlighted here. So with Mars entering Capricorn, impacting your sixth house. And so this would be Capricorn. What kind of goals do you want to set when it comes to your daily routines? What is it that you're trying to do? What kind of plans are you trying to enact here? Mars, now it's time to take action on those plans. So just kind of keep in mind, it is very close to the new year, so you might have your New Year's intentions kind of front and center. And so this might be something where you do start a fitness program. This would give you that green light to go ahead and get started. So kind of keep that in mind. If you're not ready to start on the 1st, you might be ready to start on the 4th. This would be that green light to go ahead and get started. There's also something about maybe whatever plans you come up with, don't be so rigid in the plans, because you're not going to have a very clear understanding of how to execute everything. You might need to make some pivots or adjustments along the way, so just kind of keep that in mind. A week later, on the 11th, we actually have the new moon in Capricorn, and so that is going to impact your sixth house again, because Capricorn is in your sixth house, but it also creates some sort of stellium. And it's going to be the sun, the moon, Mars, and Pluto all in the same house. So this is a lot of energy in your daily routines. So we have the sun. We talk about how you express yourself, how your soul expresses itself. We have the moon. This is that internal processing of emotions. We have Mars. These are the actions that you want to take. And now we throw Pluto into the mix. Pluto, what needs to change? What needs to be modified here? I mean, this is a pretty significant energy because there's so much happening right now here. So think about all of the changes you want to make, align those changes with, kind of connect your mind and your heart here when it comes to exactly what it is that you want to do, and then take those actions. And so just kind of keep in mind that the changes that you're implementing will both be internal and external because your emotions are involved as well as your actions. So just kind of understand that you're trying to put things into alignment here. And this would be long-term stability that you're very focused on. And then on the 13th, we have Mercury re-enters Capricorn. And so again, impacting your 6th house. And so thinking about just kind of what's happened at the beginning of the month and all these plans that you're coming up with as they relate to your daily routines. Really thinking and really understanding all of the lessons that you learned while Mercury was retrograde, incorporating this, taking action. And this again might be somewhere where you feel the need to pivot. There might be something about this where you are trying to move forward and you're trying to do it in a way that just aligns with that long-term stable plan that you're creating for yourself. This would be one where there's a lot of green lights going from the universe, and I'll talk about that in a second. But what's happening is where I just talked about the new moon in Capricorn, where we had the sun, the moon, the Mars, and Pluto all in the same sign. The moon is out. The moon is a very fast-moving energy, so it's gone. But what's happening now is you have a different stellium taking place. We have the sun, we have Mars, we have Pluto, and now we have Mercury, all in the same sign. And so before, where you were kind of thinking about what you wanted and kind of trying to understand what kind of actions to take, now this is really aligning your actions, your words. This is anything here that needs to change, and it would again align with your sun, so your soul's purpose. What is it? How do you feel about this? What do you need in order to feel satisfied? That's what's happening here with this Mercury entering Capricorn. And so there is, just based on an aspect, there's a connection here to Jupiter. And so Jupiter's kind of blessing this. So whatever strategy you're coming up with is something that is going to be around for a while. So just kind of keep that in mind and really give yourself that breathing room to make any changes that are necessary in order to get exactly what it is that you're trying to do. Because then on the 20th, we actually have Pluto cazimi in Capricorn. And so what does that mean? So we have Pluto and the sun, both at the same degree point. They're at the 29-degree point. Pluto doesn't change signs frequently. It's considered a generational planet. To put it in perspective, it takes almost 250 years to go through the entire zodiac. And so it's a very slow-moving planet. It's one of those outer planets. And because it does take so long to move through a specific sign, and even in the beginning, there's a lot of back and forth between the two of the signs. Pluto sitting here at 29 degrees with the sun, this is about closing out that chapter. This is about finalizing whatever strategy you came up with. That's been happening here since 2008. And so really kind of think back over the last 15, 16 years. Again, there would be times where it maybe moved back into Sagittarius for a little bit. So just kind of keep that in mind. But really holistically, since 2008, what's been happening here? What is it that you're trying to close? What chapter is this? Because this is a pretty significant chapter. In fact, I pick up on it constantly when I'm doing these tarot readings. It's been showing up for at least the last month. So this is definitely a cycle that is trying to close, and it will fully close by the end of 2024. And so what's going to happen here is Pluto is in Capricorn right now at 29 degrees. It is a karmic degree point. It is that closing, final, let's put an end to this chapter. But not the final end. That final end will happen November 18th of 2024. So from September 1st to November 18th, 2024, will be the last time that Pluto is in Capricorn in our lifetime. And so again, the same day that Pluto is cazimi with the sun, so they're at the same degree point in Capricorn, they both move into Aquarius. And so this is where Aquarius is going to be until March of 2043, minus that roughly 6-week window, or maybe a little bit longer. So, but 2.5 months that it's going to sit in Capricorn towards the end of the year. it's here until 2043. And so just kind of keep that in mind. We did get a little bit of this back in the early stages of 2023. So March 23rd to June 11th of 2023 was the last time, and really the first time, that we saw Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. And what this means is that your fifth house is going to be really activated for the next 20 years. There's going to be a lot of energy, really kind of thinking about what kind of changes do you need to make when it comes to your passions, your hobbies, maybe your children. Maybe this is you starting a family. Maybe this is you having children. This might be that kind of beginning stage here. Aquarius is a very liberating type of energy. This is innovative. This is the rebel of the zodiac. So Aquarius does not like to think inside the box, whereas Capricorn is very structured, very restricted, often the devil here in tarot. And so it's that restrictions that you put on yourself, and like, I need to do things a certain way. I need to follow this step by step. Aquarius is like, no, we're good. I'm going to think outside the box. I have the same goal, but I'm going to think outside the box. And how I get there may be very unconventional. And so just kind of keep that in mind as you kind of go through the next 20-ish years. That'll fluctuate depending on what other energy is taking place, but just kind of keep that in mind that it's really starting now. And so on the 23rd, we actually have Venus entering Capricorn. And so now we're getting back into your sixth house. So we're kind of solidifying what it is from a daily routine standpoint that you want. And so when you think about Venus entering the sign of Capricorn in your sixth house, what is it that you value about your daily routine? What is it that you're trying to hold on to? What do you need to let go of? Because this Venus energy really has you prioritizing the things that are the most meaningful to you, whatever in your life provides you just that value that you're looking for, maybe even relationships. And so what you're looking for is something that's very grounded, very practical, very stable, very loving and nurturing. Whatever kind of makes you feel good about your daily life, that's what you're looking for. That's what Venus in Capricorn is getting you to kind of do. It wants you to do that. On the 25th, we have the full moon in Leo. And so what's happening here is the moon in Leo is just, in its simplest terms, it's a way to express yourself creatively. And so if there's something here that has been holding you back from doing that, is there something about, because this is going to impact your 11th house of community. So maybe there's people around you that need to change. Maybe there's something here because we have the Sun and Pluto entering Aquarius. So we have the 5th house and 11th house. They're opposite on the wheel. And so when the Sun and Pluto entered Aquarius 5 days before this full moon, what realizations did you start to have? Do you need to find a different tribe? Is this about finding or maybe expanding your circle of friends? Is there somebody here in your friend circle, or maybe a group of people within, like a subset of your friend circle, that needs to go away because they're kind of holding you back from doing something, or you just feel very stifled by their energy? Something here, just you outgrew them. They just no longer have a place in your life, not in the way that they used to. And so really thinking about that, feeling that, and kind of figuring out that path forward here. So again, just, it's a full moon in Leo. It won't last forever. That energy is only going to be here probably for a few days. And then on the 27th, we have Uranus stationing direct in Taurus. And so, let's talk about this. So Uranus, this is the planet of sudden change. So think of the Tower in tarot. And so in your second house, this is your personal finances, but in the sign of Taurus. So what is it about your personal finances that suddenly needs to change? Do you expend excessively? This would be, okay, you're not going to be able to spend excessively anymore, or you don't need to. There's something about this. There's something about all of the changes and all of these modifications that you're making to your long-term strategy that require a change in the way that you spend money, that your relationship with money does need to change in this respect. And so Uranus is saying, look, I'm going to step in. I'm going to make these changes for you because what you're doing right now doesn't fit with what you're trying to do long term. And so that's what Uranus is going to do. It's going to shake things up. It's going to break free whatever barriers exist and really knock down those walls. And so this would be, again, maybe when it was retrograde, you might have understood and maybe started internally changing your relationship with money. And then externally, when it stations direct, now you're going to start to see that those changes implemented, and it's going to be the universe driving this. So just kind of keep that in mind. But the other thing to consider here is on the 27th, once Uranus goes direct, all the planets are now direct. And so for about 2 months, until Mercury stations retrograde on April 1st, all the planets are going to be moving forward. So this is a lot of positive momentum. So I just want you to kind of hold on to that as we kind of get through the month and start getting ourselves into February. So let me know what you think of this format, if this works for you, doesn't work for you, if this resonated and didn't. Any feedback is welcome. So I'm like out of breath. So Gemini, this is your reading for the month of January. I hope this resonates. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.